everyone to meeting number 1 of the SICOP annual meeting. Once again, we're doing this a little differently than in past years or more traditional years because of the ramifications and the tails of COVID and how Committee on Maintenance is playing out this year to be virtual as well. My name is Steve Lund. I'm a member of the committee and chair of SICOP. I'm state maintenance engineer from Minnesota Department of Transportation, and also connected well with the Committee on Maintenance. It's more fondly known as the MAC. Rick and I did discuss yesterday a little bit. Rick, we didn't think we had the ability to run through full introductions here. Did we decide that we were going to have committee members at least acknowledge themselves, or do I call their names out and just identify those on the committee to the 22 in attendance, 24 in attendance?
I think because the time is so short that if you just make a brief mention of the folks that are on the committee, that would be good. When we have our business meeting, we'll have an opportunity for more thorough introductions of the committee members and that sort of thing. So,
okay. Well, I'm just kind of looking at I see membership of the committee here. Maybe I look for those not present too. I see Amanda is here from our committee. Brad Dar, Caleb is here. Tina, Heath made it from way down south. Thank you, Heath. Matthew out of the city of St. Paul. Rick, of course, is our executive director. And just looking for a few more familiar names. Paul Pisano, TRB, Tina, probably here somewhere. I might have missed her, TRB, but oh, there she is. Tina, thank you. And we'll have a listing of website here that you can go to and see our committee members in name. Did I miss anyone on the committee?
Yeah, there's James Bryant, represents the TRB organization. Matt Morium represents APWA.
What did I miss? Matthew, I thought. Okay, very good. And we have once in a while we have a few other folks sit in that I'm not sure sometimes they sure feel like members, but is anybody else you'd want to call out, Rick, or is that?
Yeah, Wolf Nixon is one of our at-large members.
He's the kind of guy I was talking about, kind of shows up, right? And Mark DeFries kind of does that now and then too. So we lean against a few technical experts.
Yeah, we have some roadies that follow us.
Quite, yeah. Groupies or roadies?
You name it.
Okay, so let's see. I was going to briefly call up the agenda here for folks. Again, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this front end stuff, but one thing I do want to kind of point out is, again, this is day 1 meeting of the SICOP meeting. We'll have a second day, and we'll identify that. Rick has got that date lined up already. I at one time it was overlapping with one of the twigs from the Committee on Maintenance. I think it still might be, Rick, at least on my calendar. But the first part of today's meeting, we're going to hear about those coordinating research activities where members of the SICOP committee, you can see them here. Well, they're not all technically members of the SICOP committee, but we have close allegiance and alliances with these research efforts, national research efforts. And we're going to hear the first hour of today's meeting. We're going to hear about the coordination that's going on with those groups and the projects that those different groups are working on. And then we'll take a quick break. We'll see how time goes. And the second hour, so 2 hour situation, the second hour approximate, we'll be hearing from our committee members and the liaison roles they play with some of these other partners, you'd call them, and agencies that have a similar interests and for sure in areas that we are interested in a SICOP group that is trying to coordinate all the different activities that are happening under the winter service, winter maintenance umbrella. So that's the layout of today's meeting. Again, research on the front end and coordinating partnerships for the second hour. And I'm pretty quickly going to turn it over to hear about our first research coordination efforts. But Rick, do you have any anything you want to get mentioned or before we do that? Anything on your end?
Nope. I think that's good. If anything pops up, we'll have an opportunity towards the end to catch up on it.
Yeah, day 2 meeting, Rick. I've got that shown as Tuesday the 13th. Is that still correct?
Yes, that has not changed.
Okay, so that just for folks' information, the second day will be more of our business meeting about SICOP and our strategic efforts and of past, and more importantly, where we're going with the next 3-year period for the SICOP program, and that is on Tuesday the 13th, and that's scheduled at noon Central Time. And I believe it does overlap a little bit with the roadside roadway.
No, we should have adjusted that, Steve, so that there's no overlap.
Okay, maybe I'm showing an old meeting from roadside twig, possibly, but we're rock solid on our date and time, right? Noon Central on the 13th for day 2 of our business. Okay.
And I'll be sending the links out for that with the agenda here probably tomorrow.
Okay, so part of my main job is keep everyone on task here, right? And try to keep everything on schedule. So let's turn over to hear about our first presentation on the clear roads. And Rick, I'm not sure if you're adjusting slides or doing slides, or if Patty will be doing it or what, but
I don't have any slides.
Oh, you're just going to
have slides?
Well, PowerPoint. You have PowerPoint?
I don't have slides, seriously.
Okay.
I think you guys have seen the clear road stuff before. I'd rather just focus on the research, I think. Rick, I got a update from you that sounds like that might be appropriate. I can share my screen and show the website and kind of go from there.
Sure, do it.
Okay.
I thought you were going to turn your camera on.
No, not going to do that. Sorry. I have something going on with my face. So
too much information.
Yeah. So otherwise I would, sorry.
Caleb does too. It's called a sandwich.
Yeah, well, I wish it was that simple, but anyway, okay, well, I'll introduce myself. I'm Patty Caswell. I work for the Oregon Department of Transportation. I'm the Maintenance Environmental Program Manager there, and also currently the chair of Clear Roads. Just my first meeting will be this fall, and we're actually going to be meeting in person, fingers crossed, so we'll see how that goes. Let's see. I'm going to share my desktop. See if that works. Can you guys see that? No.
No, not yet. Do I have to do anything to make that happen, or?
Shouldn't have to. Just the up arrow, right?
Yes. Entire screen. Oh my God, is this not going to work? Oh, there we go. Okay. Don't panic. Yes.
Don't panic.
Just don't hit the red one. Just don't press the red button, whatever you do.
Right.
Okay, Patty, we got it.
Okay. So I'm just showing you guys the Clear Roads website, and this is under research projects, all research and synthesis projects. And so the ones that are in progress right now, there are quite a few. One I think that Rick wanted me to focus on is down here, standard test procedures for ice melting capacity of de-icers. This is a project that, let's see what happens if I click on it. Okay, this shows you that Washington State University is the investigator. That's Sean Ming. It's basically testing the mechanical rocker test that was developed by Nebraska DOT. Are you guys familiar with that? Yes? Maybe? Okay.
Maybe.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, all right. Yeah.
So the goal of the project really was to check out the test method and determine if it's repeatable, if it's something that can be developed as a standard test, an AASHTO standard. Maybe not AASHTO, that's not what I meant. ASTM standard. So we're going through the process there. We've got several labs that are involved in testing the method with various products. We're starting with all liquid products, including brine, mag chloride, I think calcium chloride as well. And so far, we are not sure how far it's going to go in terms of becoming a standard. We've run into a few potential issues, and I don't know how much I can even get into all of that. We have a meeting scheduled soon to get back with the investigator on this project. And Rick, you're on that subcommittee as well. Is there anything that you would like to say more specifically about it?
Well, no, not really. I mean, they're working their way through the process, and I think the thing that really is driving this research, and I don't want to speak for Clear Roads, but is this idea that the rocker test is not as repeatable as folks would like to see it. There's a lot of variability in putting de-icer in a thermos and filling it full of ice and shaking it back and forth. And so
you mean the shaker test?
The shaker test, right? So the idea behind this work is to develop a process that's more repeatable, that states can use to really get a handle on how effective a de-icer is and what that effectiveness is. So like Patty says, it's working its way through the process, and in order to get this set up as an AASHTO standard, and you were right initially, Patty. They would like to make this become an AASHTO standard to replace that rocker test. It's going to have to go through the subcommittee on maintenance and the subcommittee on materials. So this won't be the first time you all hear about this particular project that Clear Roads has got going on, because they want to take the results of this through the AASHTO system and try to get it accepted by AASHTO.
Right. Oh, okay. Why do I get those confused all the time? Anyway.
So Rick and I will keep an eye on people that might raise their hands for questions on these, and we'll keep them brief, but I do see that someone has their hand raised. Could you quickly mention who's on the kind of the technical panel of this? What states are actually on it? Do you know, even if you only didn't get all of them? I'm just kind of curious as who's watching this one.
Doug McBroom from Montana, myself, Rick, Jasmine, or a representative from Nebraska. Currently, it's Jasmine Donlinger, who's the chemist. Gosh, those are the main ones I can think of.
Yeah, Scott Lucas was on the last meeting from Ohio.
Yeah, I'm here.
From Ohio DOT.
Yeah, Scott, do you have anything you'd like to add about this particular test?
Sorry, Scott.
No, you're fine, Patty. No, I think you covered it really well. I mean, it's basically, like I said, just to develop that repeatable test through that whole thing with it. And like I said, we had a few little hiccups. That's quite the music.
You guys,
and,
I'm
okay.
You can mute me if you have to. If I'm not talking, I apologize. I should have mentioned something at the get-go, but I'm working at home, and this is one of my challenges. So.
Okay. But yeah, just to basically try to make a repeatable test. But like I said, we had a few hiccups here, and we're trying to get that resolved. But you definitely might forward.
No worries, Patty. You're talking above the ice cream truck, so don't worry about it.
Okay, sounds like a circus over here. Okay, all right. So I think that's about it on that one. Well, there's been a lot, and I don't even know how to cover all of the different things that we're doing right now. But you can see here that we're certainly still interested in the weather, how to predict our severity index, right? How to rate winters and the products that we use. So we're looking to expand on that always, and hopefully that will get better. We're working on a salt shed design template. This one is very interesting, using GIS to highlight highway segments that are sensitive to de-icing materials. Expanded use of AVL and GPS technology that involves transferring AVL and telematics equipment from 10-yard trucks in the winter to potentially other summer equipment, such as Vector trucks, mowers, that type of thing. Understanding the sodium chloride phase diagram, that's just basic training to help train other people in what we know already.
That next one is the one that we are really interested in.
Okay.
I'm hoping that's on schedule and on track, because there's a lot of states that are looking for that down the road.
Yes, definitely. I believe that it is on track.
Yeah, Patty, I'm actually the lead on that, but yeah, it's definitely on track, and we fast tracked that project. So there's a lot of information that's already ready out there that if you need anything, you just contact Clear Roads and we'll probably help you out with that. We have a lot of information already put out.
Yeah, for one, Minnesota's thrilled that you guys took that on, because we struggle between whether to outsource that or try and deliver that in-house.
I think you're not alone in that regard. A lot of states are. We do our own in-house training and are also excited about that project. Inventory and use of salt spreading systems. This is completed. Clear Roads did a prior synthesis on salt spreading, on different spreaders, and it was, while it was comprehensive, it did not include information such as this type of spreader works really well for X, Y, and Z. And I believe that was the intent of this particular project. Likewise, on the measuring the efficiencies of tow plows and wing plows, Clear Roads did a prior project on, gosh, I don't know, how do I describe it? I'm not going to scroll through here to try to find it, but it was on a cost-benefit analysis, right, of the different equipment, and that concluded that the plow obviously was the most cost-benefit in terms of clearing snow and ice. And so this is just a progressive on that, and they're looking specifically at tow plows and wing plows, and that probably cost-benefit analysis associated with that as well, which I think will be very interesting.
Patty, do you have a completion date on that one? We've been required to report our efficiency of tow plow use, and we came up with just a rough cut on it. But I'd be curious to know. I'm sure this is more thorough than what we came up with. I'd be curious to know when that return on investment might be available for tow plow.
It looks like the end date is July of this year. I'm not on that committee, so I'm not sure specifically how that one's going. We can look at the current progress report. Task force done. They've done simulations to assess the efficiency. It's on schedule. Expected completion by July 30th.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, here's the standard test. Alternative methods for de-icing. This one was also a little bit interesting. I don't know. I'm not overly familiar with it. I'm not, Scott, I don't know how you are on this one, but I don't know if this one came up with anything new that we don't really know already. That's just my take on it, but you or Rick might have something else to say about that.
To be honest, I'm kind of unfamiliar with that project as well, then, Patty.
Okay. Just thought
Patty, I probably got to give you a 2-minute warning at the very least at some point, or okay. Rick's going to give me the 2-minute warning. But sure. Rick, were you going to jump in with a question?
I was. This this project, Alternative Methods for De-icing, was one that Wilf and I were involved with, and we did a podcast with Laura Fay on this. So if folks are interested in hearing a bit more about alternative methods for de-icing, you can tune into either our podcast, SICOP Talks Winter Ops, or like Patty is shown here on her screen at the bottom, Clear Roads does a webinar briefing of each project that's there. So as you scroll through their website, you can click on those links and you can get like a 30-minute or so webinar recorded briefing of each project. So that's something cool that Clear Roads does.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. And actually, you know, the intent of this project was, in my mind, to move away from de-icing altogether, right? And to look at what can we do instead of this. And that's not ultimately practical. I think they ended up looking at better weather forecasts, better public announcements of weather to come, making sure that people are better prepared, you know, things like that, if that makes sense. But also looked at acetates and other, you know, non-chloride stuff, which to me isn't necessarily not looking at de-icing, right? That's a method of de-icing. But anyway.
Yeah. And just sort of to wrap this up, we've got an NCHRP project underway. It's just getting started on mechanical snow removal. I can't remember the exact title. Wilf, you probably know it. It's non-chemical snow removal is what it's called, and so that project is just kicking off, and it's going to be a sort of an extension of this work that was done here. But it's not going to focus on chemicals at all. It's focused completely on mechanical snow removal methods.
Cool. The last thing I'll say, I know I'm on a time crunch here, is that this last, at our spring meeting, we voted on, several really good projects that are going through. I'll just mention one of them, which is looking at, oh my God, I can't even remember. Isn't that terrible? No, I can't remember. Well, the big thing is what I wanted to do was, for those of you that are familiar with the qualified products list, for liquid products, there are a slew of tests that we require vendors to go through, including biological and chemical oxygen demand, friction testing, toxicity testing, and we don't have any standards for those. So it's really informational, and we're getting a researcher to compile all of the data on looking at the toxicity and the environmental impacts of de-icers. And granted, I know that that's been done. It's a add-on to the work that Ron Wright led, another Clear Roads project that was a long time ago on the toxicity of de-icers. But this one will expand on that and actually look at potentially, we're looking at having the researcher make recommendations to Clear Roads on whether they think it's practical or not to develop some standards for that. So I think that's really exciting, and we're talking about nitrogen, for eutrophication and other water quality indicators. So I think that'll be really good to get. So, and there's several other really good projects that were just approved. So if you have time, I know folks often don't, to peruse the website from time to time. As Rick mentioned, if we've had a webinar done on it, that's available on the website just with a click of a button. So I appreciate the time that you've allowed to run through some of these things this morning. Yeah. And if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out.
Yeah, thank you, Patty. And hopefully you can hang on with us, and maybe we have questions that come about even in the chat box, right, that we can get to or follow up at a later point with someone. Sure. I appreciate your time on that. Clear Road's always has done great stuff, and I always tell my leadership they do operational stuff.
Yeah.
We need just as much as the kind of the academic research. So So
yeah,
thank you.
you're welcome. Yeah, we like to work
Yeah,
on projects that are quick and can be implemented on the ground. So
Yeah, I think you made Rick famous with your podcast too. Didn't he have you on at one point? I think.
oh yeah, yeah.
Feels like it. Feels like I
Yeah,
remember
I
the
mean, I
voice.
think he did a great job. I don't
Yeah.
know.
So
I think I wasn't
appreciate
as popular as James Moran, but I think maybe he posted his on Facebook. I don't know.
I appreciate that.
All right.
So we're going to move right into the next two, and Tina, I'm going to say maybe make up some time by saving a second introduction for you. If you could cover both of yours in turn, right, Aurora, and then move into TRB. Maybe point out for my benefit though when you make that switch, just so I can mentally switch gears a little bit. But please kind of move into your Aurora overview and TRB as able. I appreciate it.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Rick, do you want to do the slides or do you want me to?
Go ahead. If you've got them queued up and you're ready to go, do them, or I can bring them up. It's your call.
You go ahead and just bring
Okay,
them up.
well, you
I'll
keep
do
talking
my intro.
and I'll try to find it here.
Okay, well, let me know if you do have difficulties because I can bring it here too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm Tina Greenfield. I'm from Iowa Department of Transportation. I've worked at the DOT for about 16 years. I'm in Office of Maintenance and kind of do some of the statewide winter operations analysis. My formal title is RWIS coordinator, so I'm also pretty deep into the winter, the weather type stuff.
Tina,
And
I don't think I have your Aurora briefing.
All right, no problem. Here, just a sec.
Did you email it to me?
Yeah, but I also have it over here.
Okay. I probably just pulled off the.
It's up now. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so, oops, let's have it right in the middle. All right, so first presentation is going to be on Aurora. Aurora is a research consortium, very similar to Clear Roads. We have Mike Adams from Wisconsin DOT as our current chair. We do 1 year rotations on that. I am the program manager because Iowa DOT is the lead state for this particular pooled fund. So I have the honor of being involved in a lot of those behind the scenes type of stuff. And then Iowa State University's Transportation Institute, Zach and Neil do a lot of our behind the scenes administration kind of stuff. They help with projects and getting things posted. So Zach and Neil are great resources for us and keeping the group together. Aurora, like Clear Roads, is made up of different states, and we're a program for advancing road weather technology. And we have a little bit of an overlap with Clear Roads in that a lot of times winter weather is a big part of our focus, but we also focus on summer and non-wintry stuff too. As long as it has to do with transportation weather, we're in it. So some of the fields, particularly, we do a lot of research on safety, weather readiness, transportation resiliency, deployment and support of systems and technologies that people use. We also do an awful lot with technology transfer amongst the members and with other people, and making sure that information that's out there gets shared around, identifying efficiencies that we can use to make our systems better, and supporting a more weather-ready situation. We also try to keep an eye out on advancements and things, opportunities for different states within the membership, and kind of have much more recently been kind of dabbling into kind of the more automated part of the transportation system, specifically as weather impacts automation. So we have 18 DOT members. We have these member states listed here. Our membership does kind of change every few years depending upon contributions. So if you think you should be on this map but you're not, let me know. We can get that straightened out. Going to go right into some recently completed projects of ours. We had several that completed since the last SICOP meeting. First one on the list there is a demonstration and a comparison of seasonal weight restriction models. And it was a phase 2. There was, of course, a phase 1 that happened some years ago in comparing different weight restriction models, forecasting models, and their ability to be used in state DOTs, particularly on, high winter weather states that get a lot of snowfall, and they get a spring thaw, and all that meltwater just melts up all at once. There's a lot of places that put weight restrictions on their roads so they don't get torn up, particularly to heavy trucks. And so there's a bit of a science in when you put that limit in place and when you get rid of it, so that you're balancing the kind of conflicting interests of not destroying your road versus putting some pretty restrictive limits on industry trucks, basically. And so how to start it and stop it so that you're meeting both needs in best situation. And there's a number of models out there, and this was just a comparison of some of the ones and what a state might see in trying to run one or the other. The next one that was just completed a couple months ago, or we approved it a couple months ago, I should say, is the ARWIS Life Cycle Cost Analysis and Tool. We started out with just the analysis, which is it kind of takes the form of a spreadsheet with macros where you can plunk in information on cost of equipment, expected life, repair costs, and get an idea of what you would expect for maintaining this piece of equipment and when you might be looking at replacing it when it comes to specifically ARWIS type components, so towers, weather sensors, pavement sensors of various kinds. The next one that we completed is a white paper that was regarding issues with winter severity indices. Not just the issues, but also how to get around some of them. So, there's a lot of states that are interested in weather index programs, and this was kind of a guide as far as what to think of when you are pursuing an index program, what the limitations might be, what your options might be, and to hopefully guide people through that process a little bit.
Tina, did that one identify what states are using what by chance, or?
Yes. I don't think it was every single winter state, but there was a review of those that responded to the survey.
Yeah, I mean, of course we heard about severity and clear roads too, right? I mean, there's potential some overlap there or some to consider there. Yeah,
and I guess one difference, just since you called it out, one difference in that project versus the one with the AWSSI is that was actually developing a weather index program. This is not developing a weather index program, but helping you choose one. So there's a lot out there, and this was just kind of a guide on making your way through that.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Process. So the next one is regarding atmospheric rivers. And atmospheric rivers, for those who have never heard that name before, which might be several of you, are an atmospheric river is an air mass, basically, that's coming in from the ocean or even the Gulf of Mexico that is very narrow and is very very humid, very densely packed with available moisture. And when it makes landfall, it can bring with it quite a bit of moisture, good, bad, or otherwise. And particularly in the western states, atmospheric rivers contribute a lot of the rainfall that they get, not just along the Pacific coast, but extending all the way up and through Colorado. And this was an investigation on the impact of various severities or categories, if you want to call them that, of atmospheric rivers and what they do to the transportation network. And like I said, these rivers can be good and bad. You know, they up to a certain magnitude, they're generally considered as beneficial, and then once they get a certain much bigger, they can start getting very destructive. And so this was getting an idea of what kind of traffic impacts might be expected when one of these rivers is detected and forecasted to hit one of the coasts. And then finally, the last completed project, the most recently approved, is Optimal RWIS Sensor Density and Location Phase 3. Much more leaning towards continuous mapping of winter road surface condition and deep learning. And what that really means is that they were trying to estimate conditions between RWIS sites using imagery and other information. So if you have an RWIS site here that says it's snowy, slushy, and you've got another RWIS site here that says it's, you know, clear or dry, you know, what's between it. And so the folks at University of Alberta developed some algorithms for going through some of the RWIS information and then also the camera information to estimate what's between it. That one will be posted very soon. The first 4 are on our website right now. If you want to go and take a look, I'll flash up the URL in just a bit. The final one hasn't made it through the publications group yet. They do some prettying up of the report and make sure it looks good before it goes out. But that will be very soon.
Hey, Tina.
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows that Clear Roads doesn't get all the SICOP Talks Winter Ops love. We did do a couple of podcasts on your projects, and this Optimal RWIS Density project was one of them that we did an episode with the researcher, and he does a very good job of sort of going through and explaining how all of that can work so you can make smart decisions about your RWIS density.
Yeah, thanks for that, Rick. And they were able to do some pretty good stuff with their algorithms. It was pretty interesting what they were able to get accomplished as far as accuracy of detection and things like that. It's pretty exciting.
I've heard of deep thoughts before, but not deep learning. So this is good, a new good term.
Yeah. Active projects. So these are the ones we just have a few. Well, I mean, we completed quite a few of them. So we have these 3 that are ongoing. We have some work with comparing invasive and non-invasive sensors, particularly with pavement temperature. That's going to be a long-term project where pretty much most of the Aurora Board states have a smattering of new equipment that we're basically evaluating. Not as much as which sensor is better than the other, but trying to make a comparison between particularly the in-pavement sensors that a lot of us have and what the inherent differences are when you switch to something that's a non-invasive.
Say, Tina, I'm going to give you a 2-minute warning on Aurora and have you move into TRB at some point. Unless your TRB is very brief, then you can balance better yourself.
Yeah, shouldn't be a problem. So the next one that we're currently working on is a project that you have some pictures kind of down here depicting snow and ice detection using thermography or thermal imaging cameras. You know, those are fairly ubiquitous. They're not the cheapest things ever, but they're not bad. And maybe using them to detect snow versus ice versus slush versus wet, and the various depth or slipperiness of that. And then we also have another project for roadway friction modeling and just kind of improving the use of friction measurements at state DOTs. I'm going to keep on trucking here. We have an RFP that is being drafted right now regarding the integration of connected vehicle and RWIS technologies. Like I said, the scoping on that one is still kind of happening. Maine is our lead state on that initiative. That was has been approved for the Aurora board. We're just going to have to get our act together as far as what exactly we are going to request in the RFP. And then we have these 5 pending projects that have gone through kind of the first review from the board. We have not completed these yet or approved scopes on these yet, but these are the ones that are kind of in the ranks right now. And tomorrow is our next board meeting, and I think we will be getting a lot of these sorted out at that point. But these are the candidates we got. One of the things we did this year that was a little bit different is that we put out a solicitation for ideas. And so we got a lot of ideas coming in from state partners, non-state, non-Aurora members, and then also universities, private contractors, whoever, with ideas and suggestions for projects. So we had quite a few to go through, and so we haven't completed that yet this spring. Getting close though. Fall Aurora meeting is going to be determined, and it's going to be virtual. This is the URL for the website, aurora-program.org. The reports for the completed projects that I went through are on that website. And finally, again, here's your contacts. Go ahead and talk to me, Mike Adams, or Zach or Neil from Iowa State University, and we'd be happy to help you out. All right, I am going to go ahead and just get that out of the way. Get my other TRB document up.
Yeah, I did get your other one, Tina. I didn't realize it was in 2 emails, right? So
yeah, I sent the TRB one first because I didn't have the Aurora one done.
So I'm sorry, I apologize. I slipped over that one.
That's okay. All right, so hopefully now, oops. There we are. Hopefully now you can see half of my TRB newsletter. This will go quick, Steve, so don't worry. Because I only made this as a 1-pager. Not only am I involved with the Aurora group, I am also the current chair for the TRB Winter Maintenance Committee. We are a group of now 32-ish members across the world who focus on winter maintenance. We also have an extensive friends list. So if you are not a friend of our committee and want to be, what that does for you is get you on my mailing lists when news and information goes out, and there's ways that you can kind of get involved with the committee. So I think James has TRB's outline, so I'll kind of leave that a lot to him, but for now you'll just have to, if you're not familiar with TRB, it's an organization with a lot of committees, and one of the committees is winter maintenance, and here's what we've been up to. We have an annual meeting in January. This last year, of course, with all the pandemic stuff, it was virtual, and so everything was really weird. But we got a lot of things done too. We had our committee business meeting on January 11. We had over 110 logins, and I have the exclamation point there because that's actually way more than what usually attends one of my committee meetings in person. So I was kind of excited that we had that much participation, even though it was the not quite as fun virtual environment. We did get a lot of business done. Had a couple NCHRP synthesis that were proposed, and we got those wrapped up and submitted back in February. We also had at that meeting a virtual panel where I invited 5 speakers who discussed how they were taking some new technologies and moving them into operations. So this was very operational focused, but in kind of the process of how did you go from here to here? How did you take this thing that was kind of new and weird and just kind of research and actually move it into something that you could actually use in actual snow and ice operations? And so we had Jeremy McGuffey with his Indiana DOT Smart Plow, Laura Fay, which was mentioned earlier, and I believe this new de-icer alternatives and techniques emerging in operations was very much based on some of the Clear Roads research that she was involved in that was explained in the last presentation. Jim Turkan is a consultant that we invited. He's well, not a consultant, I should say, a contractor. So winter maintenance is more than just state DOTs. It goes quite a bit is accomplished by local forces or you know, city contractors or private contractors. And so he was representing some of the things that they were doing with their commercial and residential customers in how to convince them to accept, or even not just accept, but request to demand smart salting practices when they're hiring a consultant or a someone to plow their sidewalk and their parking lots. So he was talking about how they were able to work with their customers to implement some of the newer, more environmentally friendly practices instead of just, you know, dumping the salt out until it crunches. Mike was also from the kind of the smaller scale. He was talking about a brine reclamation system that they were using at their facility. They had a high-rise condo facility. And then we had Don Erickson from Swedish Transportation Administration talking about their use of crowdsourced road friction information in how they're tracking their own winter operations. We had poster sessions that we had 5 great papers, but the poster sessions were plagued with pretty bad technical issues that made it difficult for people to kind of attend that one. Just kind of too bad. Maybe we'll find a way to bring up some of their work in other areas. But if you happen to miss the poster session, just let me know and I'll get you connected with those folks. We also awarded Winter Maintenance Committee paper, the winner of the 2021 Winter Maintenance and Road Weather Impacts on Practice Award, which is an award that Paul's committee and my committee organized to elevate and promote papers that we think are particularly good. And so the before and after empirical Bayes evaluation of achieving bare pavement using anti-icing on urban roads won that. This was a paper that was focusing on the city of Edmonton and their use of liquids and anti-icing in an urban environment before and after. So it was a very interesting yet very practical and repeatable study that we thought is a good advocate for moving some of those advanced techniques into basically anywhere. This case, an urban road, urban city. Some other things that have gone on with the committee. We've got, we just finished off our 3-year rotation. We have to, every 3 years, we have to rotate off of basically a third of our membership and find new blood, so to speak. And so we actually had quite a few members departing this last cycle. And we now have 18 new members, which is more members that are new than were there before. So we've got a very new committee, but we've got some exciting additions. It'll be very exciting moving that forward. Other news, we had a summer meeting just with the membership a couple weeks ago. just kind of getting the new members and everybody familiar with each other. We are going to have another virtual business meeting in December. Since we were able to get such good attendance, and we also know that some people are not going to be able to travel for January, we are going to go ahead and do a little virtual thing in December, and then we are going to focus our normal committee meeting that is also going to happen at the in-person Washington, D.C. meeting in January. We'll switch up our normal agenda and do something else with our committee time then as well. So we got a lot of things coming. And then we also have a couple task forces that are going right now. If you happen to be, I'll scroll down here a little bit. There we go. If you happen to be interested in any of these particular initiatives and want to be involved, let me know. Or if you have any ideas that would be cool for us to tackle, I take suggestions. So that is basically all I had, Steve. So did I give you any time back?
Yep. Well, you did. And I think we're good shape. Again, just want to recognize the good work done by Aurora and your TRB committee, and more specifically the heavy lifting you do for them and us on SICOP. I would say if you ever want to live on a lake, you can come to Minnesota, and I can guarantee you a job. So keep that in mind. Looking out the back window to a lake versus a cornfield might be something you think about someday.
You got a point. You got a point.
We've got two TRB liaisons on the SICOP committee, and of course Tina's one of them. And we're going to turn now to our other TRB committee, Paul Pisano. Paul, I suppose I have to offer you a spot in Minnesota someday too. But anyways, Paul, if you want to cover your TRB committee, that'd be great.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, thank you for that very warm welcome. I guess I got to invite you too.
It's a longer move, Paul. It's a longer move for you. It might be a little more difficult.
Right. Okay. Thanks. Okay. So yeah. So Paul Pisano here. Thank you for the time to speak. Most of you know me, but just quick background. Federal Highway Administration retiree. I retired from Federal Highway in February of 2019, so it's been a little over 2 years now. I was the team leader for the Road Weather and Work Zone Management Program, and then went off and did to do the typical consulting gigs since I retired, and managed to do a good job finding work that doesn't pay, like being a committee chair for TRB, but it's been really fun, and I've really enjoyed it. I've just completed, I guess, my first year of a 3-year term. So I hope to bring us up a little, catch us up on some time, because I don't have a whole lot of material to present, but I will see if I can bring. How do I do this, Rick?
I'll do it. I'll do it for you, Paul. I got it.
Okay.
Go ahead and start talking. It'll come up.
All right. So yeah, I just put together a one-pager as well on the Road Weather Committee, which, as Tina was saying, is a complement to the Winter Maintenance Committee. This came into being several years ago, and where we look at all aspects of road weather, particularly from an operations and maintenance perspective. So we aren't tied just to maintenance, even though we're in the TRB maintenance section, and also not tied just to winter, although, as Tina shared, they also are, at least Aurora looks at things besides winter weather as well. So the first page here is just some of the highlights from the 2021 annual meeting. We had 111 participants in our committee meeting, which is compares to about the same numbers that Tina had. So that was fantastic. We had really happy with the turnout. And the most of that meeting was a range of reports and updates from our partners and related programs. And I am in the process of trying to get those still up on our website, which our committee has a Google site, which you can see the URL at the top of the page there, which can take you to the website that gives you a little more information about what we're all about. There were 3 sessions during the annual meeting. The lectern session, incorporating weather and climate research into transportation, to me was really exciting. I was really happy with the presentations that we had. We heard from Rick Nelson, Marshall Shepard, Bill Mahoney, and Linda Mearns. Both Bill and Linda are from the National Center for Atmospheric Research. Dr. Shepard is from University of Georgia, so they have a very strong weather and climate research background. And so we had a really great discussion about recognizing the fact that there's all this outstanding weather-related research that's taking place, but is being done outside of the surface transportation community. And we need to build a stronger link between these two worlds to address the fact that much of this research isn't reaching us. And that was where Rick came in to provide that perspective from the transportation side, is that, how might we strengthen this communication bridge between our two worlds? And while we didn't solve the world's problems at that session, I think it really highlighted that need. And we closed that with recognizing that we need to continue that conversation. And even just, I still have a good contact with Andy Stern, who used to support the program years ago and is now a senior executive at the National Weather Service for the next couple of months. He's actually retiring later this year, but he was sharing with me that there's definitely some more interest within the Weather Service on IDSS, impact-based decision support, including work in the road area. So there's things happening on the side, and we just need to better connect with them, because I don't think it's as strong as it could be or should be. So that was what we focused on in the lectern session. We had 2 poster sessions. As you can see here, the one was driving under adverse weather conditions, and the other was advancements in road weather information. All of these are available online. So if you go to the TRB, they have the 2021 program online, so you can search all of those and see those presentations and posters. And I would encourage you to go back and check them out, because there's a lot of good information there. And if you can just scroll up a little bit, Rick, or Zach, we'll go to the next page. Anyway, the bottom line is that, there we go, thanks. What's coming is the mid-year meeting that for my committee is going to be held on July 28th. And the highlight of that meeting is going to be a panel discussion about road weather observations. And really what I want to bring together with this panel, actually David Johnson from Federal Highway and I will be co-moderating the session, and we're going to be exploring the various types of collecting road weather data, starting with the traditional RWIS sites and the new movement towards mobile sensing that's put, where DOTs outfit their fleets with weather sensors to collect data. And Tina is going to be the rep from that side of the house, to crowdsourcing and probe data, and what type of weather data we can get and road weather information we can get from probe data, to connected vehicle data, and the emergence of at least weather information and maybe some road weather information from connected vehicles. And we have a representative from Wejo who works with many of the auto manufacturers to get connected vehicle data from them, and they process and make that data available for a variety of purposes. And so they'll talk about what they get from the road weather data perspective. And also we will be hearing from Naira Dynamics, who also has a connected vehicle solution, particularly for pavement slickness. And so whereas with much of the connected vehicle data, it is just atmospheric weather. Here, we're also seeing that connected vehicles can get us some road weather data too. So we're going to talk about that and just sort of compare and contrast the different sources of data and how they each played a role in meeting the needs for improved road weather management. And then there'll be some other business meetings, but that's going to be the heart of that meeting. That is open to everybody. I sent out an invitation to that meeting in a few weeks ago. I sent it to everybody who is a member and a friend of the committee. So if you aren't a friend of the committee and did not get that notice, let me know here or afterwards. And I'm happy to send you the details. It's going to be an open meeting, and I think, again, I'd like to get as many people as possible to attend the panel discussion.
Hey, Paul, do you want me to send that notice out to the SICOP email distribution
That
group?
would be fantastic. Yeah, I'd appreciate that very much. We also sent out a survey to our members and friends to prioritize research needs. In our triennial strategic plan, we've identified 5 topics to be as our major areas of research needs. And that includes extreme weather and its impacts, addressing driver behavior in adverse weather, that's not, and I forgot to include that on this list, Rick. Connected and automated vehicles, forecasting artificial intelligence, and using observations to support operational performance metrics. So we're asking people, our friends and members and friends, to let us know which of those areas they think should be our priority areas, and we're also seeking other subjects. So if there's other things that you think we should be focusing on helping to develop research needs statements, which is certainly one of the key roles of this committee, that's an opportunity to help identify where we should be focusing our efforts. The other thing just about the committee, one of our other key activities, of course, is paper reviews, and that will be coming up in September, August-September timeframe, and was disappointed, but understandable why my paper review coordinator had to step down. So my committee is now in need of a paper review coordinator, and I'm desperately seeking somebody to help me out with that. So other committee details as listed here, this shows you who the leadership includes with respect to the committee. We have 28 members, 158 friends, but again, happy to have others join as friends. This just gives you our scope and the key initiatives that we're working on, and I won't go through those in detail. Tina mentioned the paper that we awarded in conjunction with the Winter Maintenance Committee, and so no need to repeat that. And James is going to talk about the upcoming conference. So unless there are any questions, I will turn it back to Steve.
Thank you, Paul. And if I had known you worked for free, I would have invited you to Minnesota right out. But so you did kind of give a lead in to James Bryant there in terms of moving into a discussion about the conference. I'll open it up for James to consider that. He did laugh out loud though and suggest that he follow you. So I don't know if he worried about following you or.
No, Steve, I'm here. I'm always honored to follow Tina and Paul.
Yeah, you have such great vocals, James. If Tony's okay with it, we'll move into hearing from you, okay?
Yeah, that's fine, and I will try to be brief.
I'm just going to close my eyes and listen to you, James. I'm just going to close my eyes and listen.
Close your eyes and know that everything is going to be okay. We're going to recapture the time. So I have a really quick update for SICOP. Rick, it's what we're seeing is the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay. Well, for those of you that don't know about TRB, we are a private nonprofit organization, and I'm on the second slide. And, really a lot to sum it up, what we do is we convene experts in terms of meetings and research and bringing people together to talk about issues through our specialty conferences, through our technical committees. We do manage and conduct research within our cooperative research program, and we do some other policy studies. And we're also called on to provide independent, objective, evidence-based advice for the federal government and for other entities. And so that's kind of sums up the role that we play. The main signature program that we have is the TRB annual meeting. Next slide. Can I control? Oh, okay. And essentially,
no, it's just good help was hard to find, James. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, man. I'm sorry. At least you're not leaving me this time. The upcoming annual meeting is going to be January 9th through the 12th in 2022, and it will be in person in Washington, D.C. So, this event is still expected to attract thousands, but it'll be fewer thousands than what we typically would have in a normal year. We cover all modes, talk about just about everything that you can imagine within transportation. For those of you that have been to the TRB annual meeting in the past, know that this meeting will be just in terms reduced in the number of sessions that will be going on within the meeting. And partially that is so that we can increase the space that we have, the open space that we have in rooms. Some of the larger rooms that we would split up with air walls to use several rooms, we're not using those air walls to allow some additional space for social distancing just in case we need it at that time. Next slide. So key points, the meeting will be in person. There is no planned virtual component at this time. I know that's one of the questions that folks continue to ask, but at this time, we're planning for it to be in person, and we're not planning to do anything virtually. Now, there may be some exceptions like the chairman's lunch or the presentation that goes on there may be, streamed virtually, but there's no bigger push to do like a fully hybrid type event. The amount of content is going to be consistent with what was presented in the 2021 virtual meeting. In each committee, we'll have one lectern session. And so that, those lectern sessions are very similar in content to the information that Paul and Tina had presented earlier about the sessions that they had in the virtual meeting. There can be a mix of papers, experts, presenters. You have it in those sessions, and the remainder of the papers that are accepted for presentation will be delivered in poster sessions. Next slide. So now we have the International Conference on Winter Maintenance and Road Weather. It was originally scheduled for September of 2020, and we were also going to pair it with the peer exchange. Now the conference is being planned for August, September of 2022. The tentative location for the conference is Columbus, Ohio, and we're working on updating the call for presentations. And all the authors who previously submitted abstracts will be contacted, asking them to update their information if they still wish to be considered. Even though this is 2 years later, we're thinking that information may be updated, and we're going to issue a new call for presentations. Next slide. Just a general approach. We're going to use a similar approach that we used in 2016, where the presentations will be pre-recorded and available in advance of the meeting. Now, those pre-recorded presentations will be more like 10-minute summaries of the research or the presentation. This is what this abstract or this paper kind of talks about. The presenters will also be invited to participate in poster sessions during the in-person conference. But the main focus of the in-person conference is really on addressing key overarching issues in workshop-style breakout sessions. And what makes it really effective is that typically at our conferences, a third will be state agencies or state or local agencies, a third may be from academia, and a third will be from the private sector. And so you get all of these people in the room and you start exchanging ideas and talking about an issue, and you're able to really get a good, thorough perspective from all of those different areas on those issues. And it made the last meeting in 2016 a very rich and full meeting in terms of what we were able to accomplish. Next slide. Here's just the general kind of breakout of what it's going to be. The plenary session break, we're going to have a kind of a focus on the issues type session, poster sessions, and then that's going to be followed by the workshop style breakout sessions. Next slide. Same will be similar for day 2, except there's only going to be 2 of those breakout sessions in day 2, and then we're going to wrap it up. And there's going to be some slight shifting in the schedule there to allow enough time for the breakout sessions to report out. But this is the general, framework footprint that we're planning on using for the conference. Next slide. And that is it for that update. I would again reiterate what Paul mentioned. If you are one of our sponsors with the state DOT, you have the ability to look at the presentations that were presented in the virtual TRB annual meeting, the 2021 meeting. You have access to those poster sessions. If you go to the online program, the interactive program, you should be able to log in, select 2021, and then you'll be able to get the information and view the presentations and things that we have available on those sessions. Any questions?
James, I just would like to reinforce a statement that you had made about the mix during that international conference. So many times the practitioners sort of struggle with, the what's in it for me. Why should I come to a TRB event? Aren't they just a bunch of pointy-headed academics out there, right? But I think what was demonstrated in the last one in 2016 was that bringing this mix together of the academics and the practitioners and the contractors really set the stage and really provided for some super good exchange of information. And I think the benefit to the practitioner for attending this particular conference is so much higher than maybe some of the other events, just because of the networking and the interaction that takes place. Researchers aren't just trying to put things together that they think a practitioner might find beneficial. And the practitioner will be able to convey to those other folks what's important to them, why things are important. So I think there's a lot of synergy there. I think the sum of the parts is much greater. The total of the parts is much greater than they are individually. So I just wanted to get on my soapbox for a minute there and say if you've never been to one, you should come.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I would agree with you, Rick. With that, hopefully it won't be like a middle school dance, right? With the boys on one side of the gym and the girls on the other side of the gym. We'll have to figure out a way to make them merge together, right? Push that together.
You know what? It starts out in the breakout sessions a little slow, but then once somebody says something and you start getting these other perspectives, it's like, well, why do you think of it that way? No, it's not like that. This is really what happens and what I'm dealing with. And it allows the researchers to really understand what problem their research is trying to solve.
Yeah.
Because if you're not living in that world or in that person's shoes, it's hard for you sometimes to imagine, what problem they're trying to solve. And so it just provides a very rich discussion.
Very good. Well, thank you for that, James. Thanks for stepping in and hitting the home run with TRB and all of the 3 report outs going out of line there. So, Rick, I'm wondering if we take a 5-minute break and come back and hit Tony up and then finish out. Is that you think we could? Are you worried about losing people if we take 5, just enough to stand up and get a cup of coffee? Or
you're the chairman.
Folks, I'm really a little fearful of doing this, but if we could take a 5-minute break, I know it's shorter than the 10 Rick promised you, but we've got to toe the line here, and we do want to try and be respectful of getting out of here on time. So maybe 12:25, right? I got 12:17 right now. Maybe I'll give you an extra 3 minutes. I'm going to put in there, return at 12:25, if you would, and we'll pick it up with Tony. Tony, hopefully you're staying warm on the on deck circle.
Yeah, good. Thanks.
Okay, very good. Hey, Tony, you sent me your presentation, right?
Yeah, but I have it here if you want me to just go ahead and present it too. Either way.
Yeah. Why don't you just go ahead and do it?
Okay.
As soon as I figure out how to stop sharing. There you go.
Rick, you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Okay, for some reason my toggle at the top's not working. So I picked up my atomic clock says 12:25, and I
Okay.
saw you had Tony all queued up. Can you launch him, and Tony launch yourself?
Yeah, Tony, why don't you go ahead and launch yourself? And I mean, you could bring your presentation up. Don't launch yourself.
I was, you know,
But
all ready to go to space.
before you get started, Tony, I just want to remind everybody that's on the call on the Teams meeting today that we're recording this, and we'll provide a link so folks that weren't able to participate will be able to hear the briefings that occurred today. So just for everybody, just another reminder that we are recording the Teams meeting today.
Okay, thanks, Rick. And I usually I can go talk pretty fast, and so I thought, okay, there's only 10 minutes left. I could have got it in before the break, but I'm glad since I had put together 2 slides to give a presentation that you gave me the extra time. And I actually really liked listening to what James had in his update, and I echo your sentiments, Rick, that it'll be really nice to get together finally. It feels like we can start getting together and meet about these things, and there's always a lot more value in those things. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Tony Coventry. I'm one of the transportation specialists at the Federal Highway Administration. Normally David Johnson, who is the Road Weather Management Program team lead, would give this update, but he is actually taking some well-deserved and well-needed leave this week. So I'm happy to provide the update. So let me just make sure I can move the slides. So at first I thought I would just give you kind of a quick update of we've sort of modified or reimagineered the Road Weather Management Program. Created a new vision of what we want to see out of the program, a new mission statement. I'm not going to read those for you. You can read them when you want. We're in the process of updating the website, and we'll start including some of these things on the website. The 3 main things I wanted to kind of show or highlight on this particular slide are the objectives. And so we've broken down what we're trying to do into 3 objectives. 1, we want to do research. We want to be part of the community that's doing research and make sure that we're collaborating with what all the organizations we already heard of today and others on making sure we're looking for new solutions and strategies to road weather management. And then the second objective is once we've done that research and we've discovered new things and solutions, that we get that information out to the road weather community at large, and not just our own research, but the research from all the other different organizations that are doing that. And then finally, the third thing is the outreach and leadership part. So that's where we want to make sure that we're finding collaborative ways that we're all talking together, we're all working together in the same direction. There's no, like we discussed today, that sometimes the research will overlap if we're not kind of working together on that. So I've broken down what I wanted to give an update on into those 3 sort of areas. So the first area is these are the 3 current strategic research initiatives at the Road Weather Management Program. The first one is adaptive route optimization. And you'll notice I put all these acronyms in on the left because, you know, that's what we do at the Federal Highway. We have to have acronyms for everything. So ARROW is the acronym for adaptive route optimization. It's currently just started, just kicked off, and we're in the first phase of that. What we're going to be doing is doing some technology scan of what's out there and some interviews of people in the community and get some of their background and information they already have. And eventually what will come out of this first phase is a concept of operation and a requirements document. So that has started and it's moving forward pretty quickly now. The second one that's currently going on is IMRCP, integrated modeling for road condition prediction. And so this is in its 4th phase. And so we've given updates on this in the past, but this current phase basically broke it down into 2 regions where we're doing it and taking into consideration other things than winter weather. So we've done one in Louisiana, New Orleans, or we're building it now. We've come up against a couple of delays there just because there's hurricanes out in the Gulf now, messing things up, but that's what we're after. And those things, and then the other one is in Ohio. And so what we want to try to do is something a little bit different in here. So one of the things that's kind of slowed us out, we wanted to kind of capture unique traffic conditions. So when you have a tropical storm in the Gulf, then traffic gets all kind of wonky, if you for lack of better words, and things happen like contraflow and people are moving in different ways. So we want to start modeling what happens in non-winter weather events. So that's what we're doing there. And then the third one is really just kind of finishing up now is automated vehicle with adverse weather research. And so the final report, I've just read it. It's still being approved for publishing, but that should come out this summer, later this summer. And that shows what we did in phase 3, which I think we've talked about a little bit in the past, but you'll see that report come out as well. So that's the research we're currently working on. Then the second objective, these are the things that we do to kind of keep what we've already learned out in the community. So the weather data environment, this is where we're actually monitoring and managing the weather. RWIS data from, we try to capture all the data from every state's and every city and county and all of their RWIS data in one location so that it can be used for, research, operations, whatever you want to use it for, but it's all in one location and available to anybody. And this is sort of the next phase. Those of you who are familiar with Claris, this is what turned into that. There was a past thing where we were working with MATIS just to keep everybody informed. MATIS now will actually capture this data. They want to have it, but they will get it from the weather data environment. So the weather data environment has become this operational database and being managed to manage that data. And we've set up a new user group. Some of you guys, I think, are part of it. And we had our first meeting last week to sort of start establishing what we want that user group to kind of things. And some good things came out of that. And we're going to meet every quarter to start refining it. And eventually the weather data environment will feed into non-recurring event data research project that's ongoing in the Office of Operations at a kind of a higher level. And then we're updating a training module. That's almost done as well. And that new training module takes in new things, not just winter operations, but tropical storms, severe weather resiliency, kind of a theme thing with our new administration, right? So, and then of course, we continue to support the EDC programs of the past, EDC 4 and EDC 5. Those programs are still available. In fact, we just did a Pathfinder workshop for the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet last week. And so they're going down the road of setting up their own Pathfinder program as the latest state to do that. So that continues to move forward. And then we've updated the capability maturity framework. And so now the new version has capabilities for non-winter things, floods, high winds, stuff like that. So we're also looking to conduct some workshops for those. So if anybody's interested in doing that, we're happy to help do that. And then also we focus on the stick and aid funding. So these are funding opportunities if there's something you want to deploy in your state, and we can help support that financially. So that's what we're doing right now, are kind of initiatives for those side of things. And then finally, the third objective is the outreach part. And so just to make the announcement, I think all of you got the invite, but if you hadn't, let me know and I'll send it to you. August 4th and 5th is the stakeholder meeting. The orange things on here are kind of new. So those are, I just put a little kind of teaser of what's going to happen. Spotlight on Community Research is a new session we're doing. And by the way, in that session, actually Dr. Taekwon, who did the research that Tina was talking about earlier on the RWIS density, he's actually agreed to present his results in that session. So if you join that, you'll get to be able to look at his report, like Tina said, might be out by then, but if not, you'll get sort of a preview of some of the things that they discovered in that research. So he's agreed to be there for that. And then there's a couple of other folks that are going to do some research too. I know Wilf and Dan Chalker from Alaska are going to be doing some stuff there too. So some good information that's going to come out during this meeting. So if you want to attend, please let me know. Also, just to let everybody know, those of you that have done the organizations, I've gotten a few updates, but if you want to send a one-pager that people can download and capture the information about your organization, we're going to have a place for that as well. So I've gotten a couple of you to respond to that, but if you haven't done it yet, please send those in and we'll make them available. Also, we're having a photo contest. So if you want to send in your photo, there's still time, some kind of a unique winter anomaly. And we're going to have a kind of a fun thing with photos. And then finally, we haven't scheduled a peer exchange yet, but the idea is that next year probably we'll do a technology exchange and then just a regular peer exchange of the community. And then, of course, we continue to do all these sort of webinars with Pathfinder, CMF. There'll be an IRMRCP webinar. There'll probably be an AVAW webinar coming up. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the Weather Data Environment user group is out there too. And of course, I listed all the organizations that we want to keep actively participating in. So we've been doing that, but I think we're trying to be more active now that it's David and myself can get to more of these meetings. So you'll see us out there more often. And then finally, this is a new initiative to kind of make sure that the community is understanding the weather side. Is we've sort of engaged the state division offices of Federal Highway, and there's not always an assigned road weather management person at those offices. It's usually somebody that's part of their time, but we're going to do a lot better job, I think, than maybe we have in the past of making sure that they're up to speed on what initiatives we're working on, what research is out there, so that when their local state people are talking to them about, hey, what do I do about winter weather, that they know at least where to go to or who can help them with those programs. So that's a little bit of an update on what we're working on. If you have any questions or want any more information, I've put some contact information. You can either let David or myself know. And that's about it.
Okay, thank you.
That sounds good, Tony. Hey, I just want to let everybody know that these briefing materials that you're all seeing on the meeting today will be available through links to the SICOP website. So I'm going to gather all of those materials up and I'll make them available so you can get to them on the SICOP website.
Yeah, good one. So if you haven't sent Rick your PowerPoint or your slides or your one-pagers, please do so we can get those set up, because there's so much information packed into these. You know, one of the roles of SICOP is this idea of trying to play a coordinating, wrap your arms around all the winter research issues. And I just don't feel very adequate when it comes to getting that done. But I guess we keep trying, right? We keep trying. There's so much going on out there. This is one attempt, at least, to bring those together who are interested in learning about all the different initiatives going on together. And we'll try, Rick. We'll keep trying. Okay, I'm going to move then out of kind of the research portion of the meeting into our committee member liaison report outs. And folks, what you'll hear now are different report outs from each of the committee members and quasi committee members maybe. And I'm going to lead this off with a little overview, and I'll be brief too. I think we should be able to wrap up on time here. The liaison report outs are not quite as packed with information as the research report outs, but I'm going to cover PIARC. I don't know if you picked up on it, but the last slide or so that Tony had did reference the PIARC initiative or effort as one of those entities that trying to maintain ties with, and David Johnson is a corresponding member on that PIARC group, and I am actually play an active role in the PIARC program. So I'm going to share, Rick, I'm going to run through this with my slides if you don't mind.
Nope, that's perfect.
And so again, I love this. I just love this photo. I'm hoping they're not taking too long of a break here, but I think they did pile it up for a photo op from that we use, and just I can't wait till that returns right to Minnesota here in just a few months. So again, PIARC, what a lousy acronym, right? But it does have a specific meaning. It stands for the Permanent International Association of Road Congresses. Permanent, I'll get to in a minute, as you can see from some of the words on here. Road Congresses is something that used a little more frequently on the international stage, but more fondly it's referred to as the World Road Association. As I mentioned, it's been around for a while. 1909 organized, again, back in the day, having the foresight to bring different road entities and agencies from across the globe together to operate much like AASHTO does at a national level here, to organize exchange of knowledge and to share ideas amongst countries that participate in this association of road congresses. I'm going to struggle with that word. It operates under a strategic plan, and the current cycle is the 2020 through 2023 strategic plan. It's got about approximately 140 countries that participate in this effort, and many countries offer various technical representatives to technical committees across the board. PIARC operates on a 4-year cycle. They pick projects on a 4-year cycle, implement and share these products after that 4-year period. And this photo here is one that I participated in on the previous cycle, dealing with the cooperation between road maintainers, maintenance workers, and road operators, kind of the freeway operators, and case studies about what makes for a successful program between the two, and how do they cooperate. You'll have access to this website. This will bring you right to PIARC, and you can learn more about PIARC, the makings up of PIARC by going to that website. As I mentioned, countries offer more than one representative to PIARC where they're able to, right? Because PIARC is more than just winter service. PIARC operates under these strategic themes that have then these technical committees under each strategic theme. So for the current cycle, the 2020 through 2023, PIARC has these 4 strategic themes in place: road administration, mobility, safety, and sustainability, and resilience. And these do change a little bit now and then as each cycle is initiated. As you can see, where I fall, or where our topic falls, is under strategic theme 3, safety and sustainability, and that's where winter service plays in. But they cover everything from freight and finance to pavements and bridges, and again, it's all dealing with road infrastructure. I want to cover briefly the products of the past cycle. Although it concluded in 2019, and with a COVID year, doesn't really feel that far back in terms of the products that were produced under this most recent cycle. I mentioned this first one briefly. This is this documents the participation and the cooperation between road maintainers and road operators. And again, it identified common themes for successful coordination. A second working group under that previous winter service technical committee was this look at application methods of de-icing chemicals. Again, here's a website that can bring you to the results of that. And that study really did, one of the things I remember about it, it really did point out the success recognized internationally about the use of liquids, right? And we were maintaining that as a topic as the SICOP program moves forward. Liquids as a go-to topic and information exchange. The third working group was the Snow and Ice Data Book. This is a topic that continues usually from cycle to cycle, and it's a data collection of experiences and facts from the various countries that participate in SICOP. It's a go-to reference that you can learn about the makeup of the country in terms of winter maintenance and references. And the fourth one from the previous cycle is, of course, the preparation for the Road Congress. I'll get into this in a little bit. I consider it the premier international winter conference. Was previously held in Gdansk in 2018. Pretty successful, not nearly as large as TRB, but again, very successful in terms of international winter conference. Just a little bit of the current cycle that we're under, beginning in 2020 and going through 2023. Again, along the same lines, the Technical Committee for Winter Service. These are the 4 working areas that we will be focused on in this current cycle. Integration of new winter technologies continues to be, a focus. This is probably a topic that won't go away in terms of keeping our eye on what's the latest technologies in winter service. The second one is, kind of a newer one, but front and center with everyone was on connected and automated vehicles and how that plays into winter service. The third area, which is relatively new and probably kind of a fresh area for the technical committee, is this idea of impacts of winter maintenance in urban areas, focusing on those unique aspects of how winter affects urban areas versus rural transportation routes. And of course, we are preparing for the Winter Congress that will be held in 2022. One thing I will note on those first three, all three of those working teams, working groups, they have been picked up by the Winter Congress that's coming to Calgary in 2022. Each of those will be a specific topic, theme area for the Winter Congress that's coming up. A little bit more on the actual Winter Congress itself. Unfortunately, the Winter Congress is going virtual in February of 2022. Don't know exactly why they made the call so early, but they did make that call that they're going to stay virtual. To my knowledge, this would have been only the second time that the International Winter Road Congress would be coming to North America. It was in Quebec approximately 12 years ago. SICOP actually had a presence at that opportunity right across the border. Yep. So we held a committee meeting or connection in Quebec to coincide with that, and that might have been on the radar for us as well in February of 2022. But going virtual, participation is still there, but it will be through your computer. And right now they're trying to coordinate the sessions such that you can give an international conference originating, so to speak, out of a single time zone, which is a challenge. But they've put together some strategies that involve recording and replaying those, so they can be I think given in more than one time zone throughout the 24-hour period, so to speak. One thing I will notice, they've changed the title on this, so to speak, and also broadened this Winter Congress out. It used to be purely a winter service, a winter road Congress, but now they've added road resilience. I mean, there is a little bit of overlap, of course, with what we do with that, but the PIARC leadership wanted to create an opportunity for connections and contact, both to make it broader, but also to bring together internationals on a 2-year cycle, so to speak, because in addition to the Winter Congress, PIARC does host a World Congress at the conclusion of each 4-year cycle. And again, it's offset, much like the Olympics are with Winter and Summer Olympics. They're looking to establish this Winter and Road Resilience Congress in 22, and then in 23 there'll be the World Road Congress. It's again the culmination of all of the PIARC technical committees, not just the winter theme. Just a little more detail on the Winter Congress, because again, I think this is one for sure, signing up for it and participating in terms of listening into the sessions is very real with a virtual opportunity this year. It would have been great to be there in person, but that's not happening. You can see here the 7 topics that were identified for the Winter Congress. As I mentioned, the working projects for our technical committee, our Winter Service Technical Committee, are picked up here in these topics here, both in, well, for sure, Urban's topic 7, that whole area of winter service in urban areas. Topic 6, connected and autonomous vehicles plays into that, and new tech under topic 4, new tech and methods in winter service. Also, just to point out that there are additional 8 other topics that have been proposed that will take place under the resilience theme. You know, that broadening out of the world, or of the Winter Congress to resilience. There are 8 topics that are being advertised. The actual call for paper has closed. This closed some time back. There's about 200 papers that have been submitted under the winter theme area, and those have, most of those have been accepted, and the challenge now will be to put those into sessions, of course, that we have to kind of, again, make accessible across the world, so to speak. That's one of the charges and challenges of the technical committee as well.
2-minute warning, Steve.
I think that is done. Any questions on that, or any questions on FIARC?
The only thing I would add to that, Steve, is AASHTO is doing a paper award. So for those folks that submitted a paper from the United States, we'll be convening a committee to prepare a national award from AASHTO on those papers, and we haven't completely decided what the prize is going to be, but there will be a prize that will be announced here in the future.
Yeah, Rick, I know we submitted also some foresight sessions for the Congress in terms of having a special focus on issues or topics of the near future, so to speak, right? We did submit on that. I know there is one on that did make it through on abandonment, road abandonment, right? When not to pursue. I don't know if I haven't heard anything of our winter topics making it. That we had a couple specific, but we did submit for some foresight sessions as well.
So Rick, I thought the award was like an all expense paid inclusive trip to a cabin on a lake somewhere.
Yeah, it could be.
But that could still be worked out, but you do have to apply yourself to win the award.
Yeah, and the papers have already been submitted.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Again, we'll take questions if we have time at the end as well. Amanda, can you move right into your talk about AMS and ITS and road weather? Are you there?
I am here.
Hey, Amanda, I went ahead and put up the presentation here, so just let me know when we're ready to switch.
The chair of the System Surface Transportation Committee for the American Geological Society. It sits under the Board on Enterprise Economic Development, which is under the Commission for Weather, Water, Climate Enterprise. AMS is essentially the atmospheric science meteorology equivalent of TRB. So it's a professional committee to promote the development and use of atmospheric science research for the betterment of society. Definitely smaller than TRB though. Next slide, I'm going to focus mostly on where we're going rather than what we've accomplished in the next year, because Steve Early just stepped down this year as chair, and I just was chosen to be chair. And then the new chair of our mobile observation subcommittee is Paul Hepner. So I don't have a lot of updates from the past year, except one item which I put in the chat box is a link to our paper on automated vehicles and weather that was published recently in the bulletin of the AMS. So I believe through the Open Sky link I posted that should be accessible, but if you are interested in reading that paper and cannot get a copy to read, please just email me and I'd be happy to send that to you. So one of the major tasks we do every year is we host sessions at the AMS annual meeting. Unfortunately, this usually overlaps TRB, but occasionally it's will be different weeks. This year it's in Houston, Texas, and my understanding is that it's not going to be virtual. We haven't gotten an official word, but that seems to be the way AMS is leaning. And it'll also likely have very few virtual elements, like just live streaming really big sessions. But if you are interested, we do usually have 2 weather and road sessions, and abstracts for that session are due on August 3rd at the link that'll be in the PDF that'll be available after the meeting. You can specify the road weather topic, and we really love to have people from the transportation side attend and present at this road session, because it's a really good way to get out the work you're doing, the problems you're having, or the solutions you're coming up with out to the wider atmospheric science community, and kind of gives us a good bridge between transportation and weather that Paul was talking about earlier that TRB is also working on. Next slide. We're also working on 2 other meetings this year. The first is coming up in September. That's the AMS Summer Community Meeting. The main focus of this particular meeting is to bring together the academic, the public, and the private sectors to be able to collaborate and work on solutions to issues together. So again, there's a link in the PDF if you're interested in this meeting. It will be virtual, and the committee's role in this is that we're going to be hosting a roundtable on weather and transportation, so working on getting speakers together for that. And then I did mention last year our Automated Vehicles Summit. This would be a follow-up to the Automated Vehicles and the Aerial Vehicles Summit that we had, I believe it was in 2018 in Washington. We were planning to have it last year, but of course put on hold due to COVID. And we feel like it's really important for this meeting to be in person to get connections between the transportation sector, the weather sector, and the OEMs and engineers that are actually developing this technology and get those face-to-face meetings. So we're just now starting to look into going forward with this meeting next year, now that restrictions are starting to be lifted. Last time we were planning to have it in the Ann Arbor area, hosted by University of Michigan, due to the M-City testing area that's set up there. So we'll have to follow up on that and see if that's still an option. So that's really early days on that. Don't have a lot of information yet, but hopefully next spring is what we'd be aiming for. On the next slide is some of our collaboration initiatives that we're working on. The first is being led by Curtis Walker. I'm sure some of you know him, is a one-stop shop for road weather research. And he's collaborating with folks from TRB and FHWA, trying to establish some sort of web presence where we can be able to really network with different entities that are working on road weather research. And one of the focuses of this is to be able to identify different institutions and companies that are doing this research, particularly for students as they're coming up through their undergrad and maybe looking to going into road weather as part of their graduate work or as part of a career. They would be able to know which entities, which companies are working in this area that they could maybe start networking with and to reach out. And then also just for within the research community, knowing which universities, which companies, which different institutions are doing the work so that we can just all kind of have a way to be able to connect with each other easily. And then also in terms of collaboration, we're looking at what sort of bridges we can build with other committees in the AMS. I mentioned that we're under the Board on Enterprise Economic Development. There's also committees on energy and renewable energy, oceans, blue economy, and financial risk. And they've all expressed interest in the way that transportation fits under all those focus areas as well. So we're beginning to reach out to them. Also, other committees that are not under our board, like the Emergency Managers Group. And then one direction we're starting to go, and again, this is very early days, so I don't have much information, is we're concerned with this space between the surface where we're dealing with road weather and then managed airspace, like around airports or up where jets are flying. There's a space where UAVs are going to start being flown, either urban air mobility or as part of delivery companies. And so we're working on trying to figure out what connections to make with maybe the Aviation Committee and how we can start looking at that in-between space. And then finally, on the last side is our Mobile Observation Subcommittee, which is still active in the area of course, mobile observations. This year, they've been focusing specifically on sensors, who's using the sensors, who's planning to use mobile sensors, and really developing a good network of mobile sensors in the US is this possible. Part of that is ongoing conversations with commercial fleets and providers, as well as state DOTs, to hopefully increase participation in the weather data environment that Tony mentioned earlier in his FHWA talk, and how we can get more of that, not just RWIS, but also mobile data into that environment. And then this focus on sensors has a connection with connected vehicle technologies and then also automated vehicles that the subcommittee is interested in. And that's my update.
That was a lot in a short time, Amanda. I thank you for that. Rick,
Sorry.
I tend to wonder about how much of this we should try and get into our maintenance operation twig. I know there's a desire not to overlap too much, but I do think that sometimes finds a broader audience or a bigger audience, and there's so much good information packed into these updates. We got to figure out a way to get these out more broadly than to 20 to 30 people that are listening here. So again, thank you, Amanda. Again, next, what's that, Rick? I saw your lips move.
Yep, the chairman of that group is right there.
Yep, I know he was listening, I hope. We're going to hear next from our locals in order there on the agenda, Matthew and Mr. Parker, right? So please take it away, Matthew, and we'll go to Greg next, but we'll hear from you in unison here.
Sounds good. I'm gonna share my, let's see if I share the right one here. Sorry.
Oh yeah, if you share it, that'd be better than me sharing it.
People see, no, not that one. They see the APWA.
Yep, well, I see the agenda, but maybe I'm sharing that. No.
Are you seeing
There we go. There we go.
Yep, we got it, Matt.
Okay, so thanks for giving me the time here, and appreciate hearing everybody and hearing everybody's voice and seeing some of you. So I'll go through, this is like a 3-page update. I'm not going to go through every detail here, but just go through some of the high points. As far as the APWA subcommittee, we've been meeting kind of semi-annually now with the virtual option going on here, actually more than semi-annual. We have about 30 members still, and we do a lot of work. We did have a subcommittee meeting last week, and we talked about a number of things. One of the things that I will mention in this is the APWA reporter articles. If anybody ever wants to submit anything or has any interest, I know it's work, but certainly we're always looking for good articles, whether it's winter related or not. Another big topic that we had was increasing submissions for future snow conferences. Both increasing the number and variety of submissions. I know kind of when I attend and talk to a lot of people with the AASHTO committee, I think many states think APWA is kind of for the locals only. I wouldn't necessarily classify it as that. I think certainly state and federal government things, or mostly state and counties and locals, we have way more similarities than we do differences. So if there's ever, it may be bugging a few of you to potentially do a snow conference or maybe try to attend a snow conference. So maybe anticipate some of that. Don't get too bugged with me, but and also, if anybody's ever interested in being on the committee, please let me know as well. So this last year, we were supposed to be in Grand Rapids, Michigan for our snow conference. Typically, there's about 2,000 to 3,000 to 4,000 people there annually. It was canceled. The live event was canceled. They did a virtual event. They did it through this Air Meet program that kind of tried to allow people to interact a little bit more. Personally, I don't know. I mean, people are kind of just exhausted with the virtual type settings. So I think it helped a little bit with interaction because there's a lot of vendor interaction with the snow conference, significantly more. They usually take up a whole showroom. So there was some of that during this event, which was somewhat helpful. We continued to do many different educational sessions. The 4-part liquid series continues to be one of our more popular one. And just looking at future snow conferences, there will be one in Pittsburgh this next year, assuming that'll be live. And you can see Omaha and Kansas City. PWX, which is APWA's overall and much larger conference that involves everything to do with public works is going to be in St. Louis, Missouri. It will be live at the end of the summer here, so that is coming up. We will be meeting, the subcommittee will be meeting on Sunday morning, 8 o'clock. Not a great time, but we'll hopefully be there and hopefully be with it with all of our wits and from the night before. But if you are interested in attending, you certainly are welcome in person. We will have a phone option as well. So if you want to attend that way, just let me know. You can see the future Public Works Expos there. One of the big things that the committee does is the Winter Maintenance Supervisor Certificate. It's been going on for many years. We've had 5,000 people that have gone through the program. We are kind of in between. We did a pre-recorded version of this last late summer last year that people could use on the APWA website. Now we're kind of in between virtual and live events and kind of trending towards the live events. In conjunction, we've started to do a winter maintenance operator certificate. So the one certificate is more geared towards supervisors or people that are kind of trending towards supervisors. The other one is geared towards the operators. So we've been doing those. And typically those are kind of in conjunction with the supervisor certificate at the same sites at the same time. So if you are interested, if anybody's interested in having those in their local chapters or anything else, we're certainly looking, or not looking, but willing to do any of those trainings. Click, listen, learn. There will be one in October. Interpreting and using winter maintenance data is the topic. We don't really have anything put together yet. I'm presenting on that. Certainly, if you're interested. And then I'll just kind of breeze through the rest of these. We have the Reporter magazine for all APWA. If you are interested in doing any articles, let me know. Wilf does a toolbox article, I think, almost every month. I can't remember, Wilf. I keep on seeing them in there and reading them.
Most, except when I missed the deadline, yes.
There you go. There you go. So, and you can just see this other activity. You can read this, but the point being is there's a lot of different members on the subcommittee that are very involved in many other committees, and so they're kind of tentacles of the committee go to many different places, including Clear Roads and other TRB type committees. Any questions? I have my contact information there. One last thing I was going to mention, and Wilf doesn't know I was going to say this, but Wilf this year is going to be presented with a APWA Top 10 Public Works Leader Award, which is a very prestigious and very good award. So congratulations, Wilf. I just want to mention it to the whole group. Didn't want to put you on the spot, but I did anyways. So that's all I have. If there's any questions, I certainly can answer them.
Very good. Darn it, I was looking for that hand clapping emoji and I couldn't find it when needed. Way to go, Wilf, and so much for a surprise, huh? Thank you. Greg, can you move into your NACE update next?
I don't know. Is Greg on? I'm just scanning. I don't see him.
Well, that'll save 2 minutes.
Yeah, what we'll do, Steve, is I'll get something in writing, and then we'll include it with the materials.
Okay. Well, now we probably will. Well, how fitting we move right into Wilf, huh? Wilf, you want to, give your thanks and praise as part of your overview?
Well, yeah, I'll share what the Professional Snow Fighters Association has been up to, if I can find the...
I can do it if you want, Wilf.
Oh, is that working?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So just very quickly, Professional Snow Fighters Association, we are a nonprofit trade association. We are dedicated to the creation and nurturing of a community of practice in the field of winter maintenance. It's been what we might term a very interesting year and then some for all of us. Just so you know, our membership in multiple areas, agency, vendor, and individual, is growing slowly but steadily, which is always good news. Many of our members are finding the information we have on our website, our one pages, and our webinars to be very helpful, so that's good news. We have a Facebook page, and lots of people were accessing that during the winter. Not surprisingly, there's less interest nowadays. There are also a lot less stories about winter weather during the summer. And I don't really feel the winter folks are going to be that interested in heat waves. I mean, anyway.
It's winter somewhere, Wilf.
It's always winter somewhere, yes. But many of the Southern Hemisphere winter stories are in Spanish, and my Spanish isn't that good. So I'm hesitant to post something that could be completely irrelevant.
Yeah, Wilf, I think Rick told me about you scoring like a 3-week trip down there for some overview once. So I don't know if you can claim a lack of that.
You'd be surprised how much an English person can get on in Argentina. There's no history there at all.
Yeah, there is.
So over the last year, we've held and hosted 25 webinars. We've been putting those on free, and total attendance in excess of 2,000, which is great. I'm not sure how much you can link the number of people who attend a webinar with the interest in the webinar subject material, but to the extent that you can, our most interesting webinar was then the one we did on liquids in February. We had 399 people in attendance for that. I think that's going to tie in to stuff on day 2 of the SICOP meeting, Rick, where Matt will be discussing plans on the liquid side of things. So that will be fun. Going forward, we will continue doing our 1-hour webinars at a reduced pace. They'll still be free, and we are getting back into doing in-person workshops. We have one scheduled for Chicago in the middle of October. We're planning another one-day workshop in Louisville, Kentucky in November. Anyone from Louisville, I apologize for mispronouncing it. It seems however you pronounce Louisville, it's wrong. Our first annual Sustainability Assessment Award applications are due at the end of July, and we're looking forward to giving out awards in that regard. We are looking into, and at the moment it's just exploring the concept of some half-day training webinars. You can see the 4 topics there. They'll be 4 hours long. There would be a fee for those, and there'd be a certificate of completion. Plus, if you attend all 4, you'd receive another cumulative certificate. The plan is to offer those each year with fresh material. That's where we're at. I'll put our website address into the chat box, and if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Wilf. That was very concise, and your efforts and your missions fit so well with what we are trying to do with SICOP that it's good to have you on board. Appreciate that.
Well, I've been nurtured so much by this community. It would be scurrilous if I were not to do what I can to pay back.
Right. Pull your weight.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're a little ahead of schedule. I'm hoping Cook doesn't think that takes the liberty to run past his 10 minutes, but I'm going to turn the last a liaison report out to Steve Cook, although it might take a while for anyone to explain TSMO and operations and community of practice, right? But if anyone could, it's Steve Cook. Hopefully he found a roadside rest somewhere and is safely pulled off the road and can communicate with us.
I did, but I fell asleep at the rest area, so I lost my presentation. Sorry, Steve.
Well, Rick, I'm sure can cover you.
Okay, thanks, Rick. No, so let me share my screen here. I just got a short presentation just to show where we're at. By the way, if you don't know me, I'm Steve Cook, Michigan DOT. I'm the engineer of operation and maintenance. So I'm also the vice chair on the Bridge Technical Working Group for the Committee on Maintenance with Steve there. And I'm also the chair for the Committee of Practice on Road Weather Management on the committee for CTSO, which is the Committee on Transportation System Operations. So with that, let me get my presentation here, guys. Can you see that?
Not yet.
No. It's highlighted. Where is it? Let me do it again. Oh. Come on, jump. Where is it? Why is that going?
I don't think I don't think you sent it to me, did you, Steve?
No, I didn't. I thought I could just pop it up here. I usually share it and it just comes up. It's why isn't I? Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I got to go down here. I don't see it on the screen anymore. Why isn't it jumping out? Oh, here it is. Got it.
There you go.
There you go.
I know technology. I just old man brain.
Just don't press the red.
So I'll show this slide first, just who we are and what we are. So yeah, we answer the community of the Road Weather Management Committee of Practice answers to the main committee. We are a separate box. If you look at the org chart, we're a separate box from the other two subcommittees, which are operations and technology. We're separate. And then there's research, which is Gail McGillen, and out further is myself with the road weather management. So we've been working on a couple things here. Then I'm going to skip all the way down. So a lot of this stuff is just things you already know about road weather and all that. I'm not going to do that. So back in June of 2019, very, very important stakeholder meeting workshop, as Rick Nelson knows. By the way, Rick has been my right-hand man in much of this. Thank you, Rick. Always have to give a shout out to Rick. Does a great job of helping me out. So really the bottom line, that bottom bullet point is all I want to say. After we shook the bag real hard, after 2 days of sitting there with 34 people, we came out with these things. So this was not done in a vacuum, what I'm about to show you. Some of you have already seen this presentation, but I'll show you where we're at now. But it was to determine a couple things. One was the human factors on safety, reliability, and the effectiveness of variable speed limits and variable speed advisories, because some states like us are advisory only. And then look at real-time warning systems for road weather hazards, snow and ice visibility, flooding and all that, where you get those instant messages that are automated. So what we did is we jumping to the next slide here, and then I can go big. So what we did is, there it is. Okay, so what we did is, we spent about a year or so trying to get this research needs statement crafted up. As Rick remembers, a lot of pain in that, because once you get these crafted up, everybody pokes holes at it. It comes from every direction. So we finally got this thing up and running. But that second last bullet point, what we ended up getting was this research needs statement called Evaluating the Impacts of Real-Time Warnings and Variable Speed Limits on Safety and Travel Reliability During Weather Events. It is now and was accepted by NCHRP. It went through the balloting process last fall with the CTSO committee. Was ranked #1. And it went to TRB, NCHRP rather rapidly, went through that process, got ranked this past spring. Or I should say last winter got ranked as a #1-ish with many of them, but it did jump right to the top, which kind of shocked me actually. They pushed that right out for nominations for the panel. So a lot of movement in this area with this. And what it really looks at is the human factors of why, people do and do not pay attention to VSL or real-time warnings, what the needs are there, what kind of messaging do they need to get their attention? Is it on the road? Is automation the best way to do it? Should it be in vehicle? Where should the message be, and what should it be? There's a lot of synthesis that was done when we wrote the research needs statement. We listed there was a whole grocery list of things that went on in this area, but nothing really coalesced into one document for this actual problem statement. So we listed all the tasks and everything. This thing actually went through very rapid. I was shocked. So the idea is to get this thing up and running. RFP posted next springish. Rick, if I'm wrong, correct me, but I think it's next springish. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, 2-year project, $400,000. So there you go. That's where that's at now. So
and Steve, I would also like to mention that this project sort of spurs off of the National Academy's report that was done, Social and Behavioral Sciences in the Weather Environment. That sort of laid a lot of groundwork for the discussions that we had here. So I just sort of wanted to mention it to everybody, this thread that sort of weaves back through the TRB and those advisory reports that the academies write, sort of how things go and build and things develop. And I think this research needs statement, in my mind, as I was working on it with you, I had that work that was done in that Social and Behavioral Sciences, the Weather Environment report, front and center. So I think this is a really cool project that's going to spin out of that.
So yeah, that's a great point, Rick, because there was actually some research that came on. Was it Wyoming or Utah, or who was the woman that we talked to make sure we didn't? We were trying to make sure we did a lot of work to make sure we weren't duplicating effort here. So there's a lot of work done in this area, but it's all fragmented. It's separate little research projects that went on, but nothing really coalesces it all into one project. So who do you remember her name?
No,
Okay. All right.
Ruth sticks in my mind, but I can't be sure.
Yeah, we had a conversation with her as well. So, so where we're at now, we are at a point where we're looking at the next thing, and the next thing is to write and produce and publish a concept of operations, not go through an entire system engineering process by any means, but it's a concept of operations with a blend of the requirements documents needed for where, when, and how VSL should be deployed on a corridor or real-time warnings. So what we did is we had a listening session back on April 22nd. We had Michigan, Ohio, and Utah present specific examples of their either VSL or real-time warnings or combined thereof for a group of several folks from several states. We didn't want too many in this listening session. If you've ever been in one of these things, FHWA has done a lot of these with TSM&O and things, but you want about 12 subject matter experts from state DOTs, maybe maximum 12, maybe 14, but we probably had 14 on the horn, Rick, when we did this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it says 10, but we actually probably had about 14 folks. But anyway, so we looked at why did you deploy it in this corridor? Real-time warnings of VSL or VSA, what do we want to call it? First steps in planning and deployment, the functionality and technology that was required. We looked at several use cases, and that's the reason why we did that, is to really reveal the use cases that are out there when you actually would deploy these. And the needs for, the VSL and specific corridors of those deployments. So here kind of gets to the nuts and bolts of this whole thing. What's the purpose, for the investment as a real-time warning mechanism, the VSL and the real-time warnings. Again, define a common road weather management issues and stakeholders, to define those, justify changes based on generalization user needs. So really understand the user needs. That's a big part of this. And then, of course, outlining the concept of the system itself, those use cases. What's the impact on, the corridor, the benefits, alternatives. Again, this was done by a contribution from these listening sessions and previous research. We do have a Gantt chart that's out there, Rick. You haven't seen it yet, but I do have a Gantt chart now that shows the timelines of when the draft document, final document, will be coming out in 21 and 22. We're hoping to draft sometime in October or November of 21, and then start, phasing into, the final document. So last slide. Again, exploring the development of the abbreviated concept of operations and a requirements document will be blended into that. So once you understand the use cases and needs, then you can write the requirements. And that's really what I wanted to get out of this, is the requirements of where VSL and real-time warnings are needed on a specific corridor. We're currently compiling the information from the first listening session. We're focusing on strategies, the kind of strategy you put out there as far as TSMNO type strategies. Those are well defined from some of the documents that FHWA has. So there's a lot of good information out there on that. We're looking at a potential second listening session, depending on what comes out of the compilation of the first. Determining dates right now and reviewing relevant topics of interest for discussion. And that's my update, Rick. Thank you.
So a lot of stuff going on.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. One question from Brad. Steve, was your listening session recorded?
It was not.
Okay.
Not that I know of, Rick. I don't think it was, because it was done by Cambridge.
That's correct. There was a very elaborate system for capturing notes visually in this virtual kind of thing. So it really didn't make much sense to record it, because it was a small population, and they had like 4 people gathering notes in different areas and populating different screens and things. So short answer is no, it wasn't recorded.
So I mean, a couple caveats to that, just so you know. Here's the catch, guys. Rick is right. If you've ever been in one of these listening sessions with FHWA, I went through, there was 10 of them FHWA did from Joe Gregory from last September till April of this year. They did 10 of them, TSMNO, and how it relates to planning and maintenance and construction. They did 10 of these. So I plagiarized that to do this listening session. And what it actually is, you listen to the subject matter experts. You ask pointed questions that are queued up, and they answer those questions of what they're doing and how they're doing it. Okay, that's one thing. So it's recorded in a sense, but it's all written documentation and what comes in the chat. So it is, to a sense, not verbally. But here's the other catch. It's a Michigan DOT twist on it. So just that's the caveat, MDOT, because we're paying for it, honestly. So we're using this as part of our strategic plan as an appendix. It will be a document that will go to CTSO and try to get their approval to push it through. And once they get it through their net, we may re-blend it in some other way to have it look more national, facing.
Yeah. And
we have to put that twist on it to be able to fund it, guys. So
yeah. And it will, that's what R&D is all about, right? Is rip off and duplicate, and the good stuff that they're doing in Michigan is going to be applicable across the country.
Yeah. So, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. Again, a lot of good stuff. We do, as I mentioned earlier, how do we get the word out on all this? And one of our close partnerships is with the AASHTO subcommittee, or the Committee on Maintenance, but more specifically the Maintenance Operations TWIG. So Brad, can you give a 2-minute overview of the upcoming TWIG meeting, and I'll close with just a 30-second comment or two.
Very good. Good afternoon for most of you. My name is Brad Nahr. I'm the Committee on Maintenance Operations Technical Working Group Chair, along with Emily McGraw and Rebecca Almaroth are the Vice Chairs. We are the tie to SICOP for the Committee on Maintenance. We do have our upcoming TWIG meeting July 15th from 2 to 4 Eastern Time. Most of you have attended them in the past, but some of the typical TWIG requirements of trying to figure out potential research for that's at the national level for NCHRP. But we also have an update on TMA flagger and the automated TMA coming out of Missouri DOT. Earlier in this session, they talked about Jeremy McGuffey and his Indiana Smart Snowplow. We will have an update from him on that at the TWIG meeting as well. And as always, we're looking for hot topics to dealing with maintenance operations and any future topics or research that any of you are interested in. So feel free to attend. We look forward to having you and providing some information. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. I would also like to just add that we've been collaborating with the Maintenance Operations TWIG on a series of webinars. Those webinars have been recorded and they're up on the SICOP website at the SICOP Talks Winter Ops webpage. And Jeremy, the project on the smart snowplow was one of those topics. So as a lead up to the July 15th meeting, you might want to tool over there and listen to his 30-minute presentation on the Indiana Smart Snowplow. It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I actually want to reach out to Jeremy on that. We want to highlight that internationally. So Jeremy, expect a connection from me coming up here on that. So I just want to close and thank Jeremy. Did you want to say anything or?
Yeah, I was going to say just real quick. I kind of mentioned it on my LinkedIn. I haven't kind of spilled the beans on it yet, but we will have a pretty big update that nobody else has seen yet. So I'm excited about it.
Well, you could go international here with that. We'd like to highlight that as one of 2 U.S. Topics under new tech. So I just want to close with thanking everyone again. I guess this is why we meet a whole day when we do get together face to face. It did feel rushed. It feels different when we're face to face and presenting this stuff. It feels better. It works better. But it is what it is for trying to do it virtual. I did share in the chat the next meeting, this SICOP meeting 2 next week on the 12th, I think I had on there. I 13th. Did share, yep, I did share, and Rick will get notice out on that to the same audience that he shared this meeting 1 on. And I also put in the chat box the specifics of Brad's TWIG meeting, which a lot of good stuff coming out, and we're partnering closely with. So you'll get some of the great information and even more of it in that meeting. So with that, I'm just going to close and thank everyone for attending, and I hope to see you at meeting number 2 for SICOP.